Ah. Now I don't know whether we're live. I guess we're going to find out.
Live up there.
It says live.
I tell you what, you walk around with your phone rather than me. Yes.
Oh, we are live. Okay, we are live. Well, we're back at Cathedral View, and I'm James Wrigley from DW Hicks.
Hello.
And we're going to have a just look at what's happening here now. If I turn the camera around whilst we're stood up here, basically we can see a view of the site. We're just going to go and have a little look round. So off to you, James.
Yeah.
What I think we'll do is we'll go up and we'll have a look, and then we'll come back if it's too noisy.
It is likely to be quiet.
So, yes, please, yeah, but talk quite close to here.
Okay, just as shown in camera at the moment, we have the freestanding mixer and pump for the pilers. Effectively what happens is the auger piler creates a hole. There's a hollow section within the auger, and the concrete is pumped through a high pressure pump and hose leading to the top of the rig. It goes down through the hollow section in the auger and fills the pile as it's being drilled.
Right, and you said that there's two sizes of piles here.
Yep, the block which is being piled at the moment are 300mm diameter piles. It's block A, block B, which is where we're currently standing, will be 450mm.
Right. I'm just hearing that Caroline can't really hear. So what we'll do is we'll have a look round. Go back there and have a chat. Mind.
Even if you can't hear, you might want to turn around. It's also showing this is the steel that goes into the piles.
Okay, so this is the steel that goes in the middle of the piles then.
Now, the rebar fixer, who is diligently working.
You speak quite closely in here.
Okay, so the gentleman you can see in front of you is just creating the rebar in the centre of the pile. You can see he's got a stockpile, and you can probably see the foam just on the ends of the reinforcement there.
Yeah.
That allows the top section of the pile to be removed without damaging the pile in any way. So when you crop the pile down to the right height, that allows the debonding.
Right, okay. Okay. Let's have a walk round and actually have a look at the piling actually going on. So here's the piling rig. What's the height of this piling rig, do you reckon?
I would call that a good 25 metres.
Yeah.
The pile depth in this location is about 13 metres, 13-14 metres deep.
Right.
It does vary over the sites depending on what the pile does and the borehole investigations that went on. But yeah, 13-14 metres is about average over the site.
I'm going to keep you on this side of me so we can hear you. Let's go around here and have an actual look at the pile.
Just be careful you don't walk into any wet concrete, otherwise you won't get it off your feet.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can see the placement of the rebar. That's a pile which has just been drilled and filled. Sorry, that is a pile which has just been drilled and filled with concrete. As you may or may not have heard how it was done previously. You can possibly just see at the bottom of the auger of the pile there, the hole at the bottom of the drill section. It's a hollow section auger, so you can see the high pressure hose which goes up to the top, and the concrete comes down through the hollow section of the auger and comes out the bottom as it's drilled.
Right, okay. And what's this chap doing now then?
Right, this chap is currently setting the rebar to height. We're using a site laser level. Typically those will go in within a couple of mil. So it's very, despite the fact he's putting it in with his feet, a rudimentary way of doing it, it's a very accurate way of setting the piling rebar.
Okay, and what we're actually going to see now is the piling rig come in and actually dig a hole.
Hopefully, yeah. As you can see, what happens is
we'll just come back a bit here.
Well, I mean, just in the background, just behind the site, well, the foreman for the pilers, you can see a couple of yellow caps.
Yeah.
They're the piles which have been set out.
Yeah.
Now this whole area is set out because an engineer will set out as much as he can do within a day.
Yeah.
You can see then what happens is it gets completely tracked over and he has to reset out again.
Oh, I see.
It's just one of those things, particularly where you have an awful lot of piles like in this building.
Yeah.
It's unavoidable.
So what? So we're going to have a pile starting shortly?
Hopefully any moment. The time taken, well, hopefully if you see this, you'll see it's the setting out which takes the time.
Yeah.
Getting into the right position, make sure you're correct. You have a pretty small margin of error which are allowed within the location of the pile.
Yeah.
Typically no more than a third of the pile.
Yeah.
So if you've got 300 pile, you can't be any more than a third out.
Yeah.
We like to think that it's a lot better than that.
So what's the stabiliser going down? They're
Correct.
setting themselves into position.
Yeah.
They're happy where they are.
We'll see the auger turn in just a moment.
So just tell me what an auger type of pile is then, James.
Okay, the best way of thinking about it is just like even a domestic drill you'd use at home if you're drilling a hole in a wall or in a bit of wood, as opposed to a vibration pile which literally whacks something down into the ground. It creates a lot of vibration. It's not good for your neighbours.
Yeah.
Here we're using an auger pile. It keeps our neighbours here at the sixth form college as happy as they possibly can be under the circumstances.
Yeah.
And in lots of ways it is the most efficient way of going about this.
And how far are we going down with this pile into the ground, James?
This one will probably be going down about 13 metres.
So if we look up here now, you can see the top of the pile coming down. This whole thing should literally be going into the ground.
Yeah,
the height of this.
You'll be seeing, I mean, you can actually see from a previous pile towards the top of the actual press.
Yeah.
The top sort of 2 or 3 metres doesn't have much material on, basically because we're not going that deep.
Yeah.
But the vast majority of that auger will be disappearing into the ground.
So it's a 30-metre auger pile going straight into the ground, and then when it gets to the bottom, the concrete will be pumped back in as it comes back up.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't know actually if the concrete goes in during the downward phase or the upward phase.
Right.
If I've got it, it's something we can ask John possibly.
Yeah.
But yeah, the point is it goes in during the pile process.
Yeah. And then these things here which are being lifted up,
Yeah.
what's going to happen? They're part of the pile, aren't
Yeah,
they?
it's the reinforcement within the pile. As we saw the gentleman on the other side of the site creating the rebar structure.
Yeah.
As I mentioned then, there's the debonding on the top of the rebar, which allows then the pile to be cropped to the correct height. You can see just down here that the pile is formed up to the pole mat level, but that won't be the finished level of the pile.
Yeah. So you can now see, if we look back at the piling rig, that a lot of the auger pile is now in the ground. How long will it doesn't take very long, James, does it, to put it into the ground here?
No, the smaller piles, these 300 piles, they go in relatively quickly. Obviously, the larger the diameter, the more muck they have to move.
Yeah.
And it is a significantly, it just takes more time. It's as simple as that.
And what kind of ground, what earth have we got here?
A real mixture. I mean, basically, we're getting to good ground at about 11 and a half, 12 metres.
Right.
Which then dictates the level that we go below into really good solid ground.
You've got, the thing about piling is that you've got to go down until you hit solid ground.
Basically, good ground it's termed.
Yeah, yeah. And then when you're good ground, that's what you attach all of the piles for the stability of the building, which is effectively tied to these things here. And there's a mat, isn't there, that you put over the top of that, you connect them all together.
Yeah, the actual ground slab, particularly on this, it's a raft slab, so they'll tie direct. There will be a ring beam.
Yeah.
As you can see at the moment, what is being augured is the the actual outline of the building. So this will all be ring beam.
Yeah.
But in the centre here of the actual area, that will all be a raft slab.
Right.
And that will sit directly onto the pile.
Okay, I think we'll go back now.
Okay.
Thank you for that. And what we'll do is, if there's people that have not been able to hear so well, we might put some subtitles over this when we edit the video. And how long will it take, do you think, James, for this to be finished?
There's a $64 million question, thank you, Fraser.
Well, the
3 weeks.
3 weeks for the piles.
Yeah.
And there's about 300 piles.
About 300 piles, yeah. So working roughly at about 20 odd a day, the working day should clear it up more or less.
Right.
Certainly progress today we put in about 25 we'll be looking in today, so.
Right. Okay, well let's just walk back to the, I'm getting used to this selfie stick. Everyone here thinks I'm mad.
Fit well in.
Right, I need a longer arm, I think. So, we've just come away a bit from the from the sound. So I'd like to thank James Wrigley from DW Hicks. He's the project manager here at Cathedral View, and I will see you next month.
Excellent, thank you very much, Fraser.